Hi everyone, I'm Cara Evans and I'm from the employability team, and I'm here today with my colleague Kia Warlow, and we're going to talk to you about why the final year project can be your gateway to employability. Both myself and Kia studied at the School of Management, and we've both worked on final year projects, so we just want to share with you our experiences and any advice from an employability perspective that we have for you. So I graduated in 2017, which feels like ages ago now. Which, as I mentioned, I'm now an employability coordinator, which I was very successful and managed to get my role once I graduated from university. So to give you a bit of an insight into my project. The project was with the big lottery fund Wales. So, like many of you, you probably recognise the logo on the screen, which I did as well. So, obviously, the National Lottery logo. I didn't know what the big lottery fund was, so I was very sceptical at the start when I was allocated my project, not knowing what I was expected to do or who this company was. Once I further looked into it, I realised they were a charity that distributed 40% of its profits and that was raised by the National Lottery to charities across Wales. So our main aim for the project was to create an outreach strategy. So this outreach strategy was to increase awareness to three particular areas to increase their applications for funding. So these included Black and ethnic minorities, young people, setting up organisations, and the elderly. So these three areas we were tasked with creating awareness. So we had to create marketing campaigns, we had to try and increase the awareness in creative new ways. One success from our project was that we created a television campaign alongside the big lottery fund, created all these ideas and put all the recommendations in stone, which a few months later it was then used on the Wales News, which was fantastic and did actually increase awareness. So very successful outcome for us, which you can see obviously we won the best final year project and we achieved the highest grade for final year project, which was awesome. However, the project did come with its challenges. Not everything ran smoothly. You can see some photos of my team there on our graduation day, which was brilliant. So at the end, it all worked out well, but along the way, there was definitely some hurdles with teamwork. You know, just like many of you guys, you're probably dreading the fact of having to work in a team, which I was as well. I enjoy working on my own and focusing on a task. However, I found that this experience really developed my team working skills. It really gave me an insight on how to work with a team and how to understand how other people work. Everyone does work differently, and you know, teamwork was and probably will be a lot for you guys one of the biggest challenges you will come across. However, it's definitely worth it at the end. We're all very good friends now, and we're throughout, and we've all, you know, we're very successful and all achieving first class honours from, you know, pulling together and working strong as a team on this project. So I'm going to pass over to Kia to introduce herself and her project.
So I'm Kia, as Karis has mentioned. I'm also an employability coordinator within the School of Management. I graduated in 2018, which, as Karis said, does feel like ages away. So hopefully kind of what we go through today and our tips and advice is still really relevant for you. So my project was obviously different to Karis's, as they are every year. We had Swansea International Festival. You're probably thinking, what is that? I thought exactly the same thing when I first got my project. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because I literally have never heard of this before. And how is everything going to go? And everyone in my team kind of felt the same way. So we were all in the same boat. But, you know, we took a step back. We did our research. I know we overcame that quite quickly. So even if it does feel kind of overwhelming to start with, please don't worry and just do your research, be organised, do your planning, and everything should be okay. So a little bit of background about my project. It was obviously with the Swansea International Festival. They really wanted us to increase awareness of the project and about the company. They wanted us to do a lot of market research. So, you know, comparing kind of what they do to other things like, you know, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. you know, other festivals that go on kind of worldwide or in smaller communities, as they were just kind of starting off. They really wanted to know how they could increase engagement with students, with the younger generation, and how to really kind of entice people to come along to the festival, increase ticket sales, that kind of thing. So a lot of research went into it. It was difficult at the start, as you know, myself and the rest of our team kind of had never been to it before, never heard of it before, even though you know, a few of us were from Swansea. But you know, that can really help sometimes because you're going in kind of without any idea of it, so you can come and bring kind of fresh new ones to the mix. So everything was going really well. You know, we met with the team who ran Swansea International Festival, got on well with them. We were able to kind of implement a lot of different research methods that they wanted us to, as well as coming up with our own new ideas, which they really appreciated as well. But about 4 months into our project, they ran out of funding. There was no funding for Swansea International Festival to go ahead for that year. And they basically just had to kind of end the project there, as there was nothing else that we could do or that they could do for us. So obviously we were kind of like, what do we do now? Where does the project go from there? We still have about, you know, 5 months left of kind of our final year. What are we going to write about? But, you know, we really took that as a learning curve and thought, you know, this can happen in real life. You know, a lot of the projects that you get now, you won't have heard of. Things won't go 100% perfectly to plan. You know, if you were really working for a real life consultancy firm, and you were just given a project, you wouldn't be able to complain. You would just have to kind of get on with everything, be professional, and kind of, you know, work as best as you can on it. So we just carried on as if the kind of project was going to go ahead, and gave our recommendations anyway. Continued to do the research and thought, you know, we've started it now, so let's just finish it anyway. So it worked out. Obviously there was bumps along the road, but you know, we did get there in the end, and we all got a first for it. So it was really positive, and it's definitely something that I spoke about in interviews when I was looking for roles after I graduated. You know, it kind of ticks off the teamwork questions, a difficult situation question. So, you know, you can definitely make the most of even things that didn't go quite as planned. So yeah, that's a little bit about my project. So again, like we said, and like we've already mentioned, we really want to give you kind of tips, advice, information on how to really engage with your final year project. So mainly, the first one, and the biggest piece of advice that we can give you, is be professional. You don't know where this final year project will take you. You know, some of our students have managed to get grad roles from it because they've really impressed, you know, the companies they're working with. So, you know, really have that mindset, be professional, especially if you haven't kind of, you know, had any work experience before with a real life company. This will be a really good opportunity for you to really focus on that. So yeah, always be polite, be as professional as you can all the time, even when you may be giving kind of some honest feedback to them, you can still always do that in a professional way, so make sure you are keeping that in mind. And you know, email etiquette, that's so important. You know, you're not texting them, address who they are, you know, write their name, dear kind of whoever you're addressing it to, and make sure, again, it's a really professional email. You're setting out what you want to say, and just making sure that you're kind of signing off from your team. You know, if you want to have like a group name or something like that, so that, you know, it kind of makes sense to the company who it's from, rather than just putting all your individual names, and that's an idea as well. But just think of these little things because they're really important, and they can show off to the company kind of how professional you can be as well. And maintain good communication. You know, you all would have had your projects by now, so make sure you've contacted them as soon as possible. Obviously do your research as well, so you know kind of what the company is about, what they do, what they stand for, but make sure, you know, you're introducing introducing yourselves and you're kind of booking in that first initial kind of contact. Obviously it will be virtual, as Cara said earlier, just make sure you know, whether it's over Zoom, Teams, whatever is best for both of you. And you know, throughout the project as well, just make sure that you're kind of keeping in regular contact with them. You know, try to avoid them kind of having to chase you. That's really important. Even if you do have like loads of deadlines or something, just tell them, just be honest and just say, oh look, you know, the group and myself have a lot of deadlines coming up over the next 2-3 weeks. So just for you to be aware, we are still working on the project, but we will get in touch after that if that's okay with you. You know, something like that, something really simple and easy to do, but you know, they'll still kind of respect you for doing that, because, you know, we all lead busy lives and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, and you know, always kind of make sure you're booking in kind of the next meeting, so you know that you're kind of planning ahead, and you don't let this kind of just slip to the back of your mind, if that makes sense. And also decide on the best communication channel. Obviously email would be best first of all, but from that, you know, if the company prefers to speak over the phone or, you know, Teams, Zoom, virtual meetings, then really establish that from the start so you know where you're at with them. And make sure you're working with this, you know, with your team. So make sure you're not just being the only individual to contact them. Make sure that it is like a team project. Really engage with everyone else. Ask everyone when they're free, so as many of you can kind of, you know, join in on the meetings as possible. Just so you've got really that, you know, united front with the company when you're meeting with them. So hopefully that all makes sense, and I'll pass on to Caris to talk through a little bit more advice.
So I wanted to cover adapting to online platforms. So like yourselves, everyone, including small and big companies, have had to adjust to being online. So your provider will understand, and you'll all be in the same boat, so do not worry. But we do have some tips in how to succeed with online platforms. So particularly for your meetings, what we would suggest is to familiarise yourself with the platforms you'll be using. So there's nothing worse than not knowing where your meeting is going to be. Obviously, if your meeting was going to be in person, you would know what location you were going to. So if you know what time it is, what platform you're using, and who is expected to be on that meeting. We would also suggest for you to check what is best for the company and ensure what you're using ahead of the time. For example, you know, many companies use Teams and Zoom, which many of you may be familiar with through your studies at university. However, not all companies will have access to these, and they may prefer a different platform. So just double check what is best for them and make sure that everyone in the team knows exactly how to use this platform and has login details, etc. Another thing we would suggest is to really maintain your professionalism. Even though you're online, you will be expected to, you know, be professional in your language, in your body language. Make sure you maintain eye contact. Also make sure you have a clear background behind you. You know, you don't want any of your housemates walking behind while you're in the middle of a meeting with a company. You know, you are consultants to this organisation for a year, so you want to be as professional as you can, even though you may not be ending up meeting them in person. Just remain professional throughout all meetings. There's some advice for your presentations. We imagine at the moment these are probably going to be online. So some advice for these, would be to what you would probably do normally, is just make sure you plan. We would definitely recommend to run through on Zoom many a times, practice recording it, so, you know, listen back so everyone knows exactly what they're doing. Whether this is to be recorded or live, everyone should know what they're doing, who's covering what slides, and knowing what platform you're using to conduct the presentation. So moving on to the next area to cover is soft skills development and how to set yourselves apart. So I'm going to go through a list of skills that none of you will have really thought of apart from the teamwork one and what you're going to develop. So obviously as an employability team, we have a strong focus on LinkedIn and CVs and how you can use these skills to benefit you. So here's some skills that it will definitely be worth, you know, considering throughout your project that you will be developing. So first one is project planning and management. Obviously that goes without saying, you know, you are consultants for a year. do not, dumb this down. It is, a project you're working on with a company, and you will be gaining a lot of skills in project management. So definitely do not forget that as a key skill that you can be developing. Interpretation of information. So now you've probably all got your briefs, and some of you may have a lot of details, some of you may have quite an empty information brief. Now this is down to you to interpret. So it is down to you to get in touch with the company, find out as much more information as you can on exactly what they're looking for and their recommendations, and then it is down to you to interpret what this information is and how you can best proceed forward to create recommendations from you as a team. So interpreted information is definitely something that you're really going to develop and learn along the way. This goes sort of hand in hand with the next group of skills: research, data analysis and reporting. Obviously, you'll be doing your group report towards the end of your project, which you're going to have to present all your findings. So obviously your findings will be your data analysis, whether that be for marketing or financial analysis. Whatever data you have found out, whether it be from surveys, you're going to have to analyse this data, and then you're obviously going to have to report on it. So do not forget that this is a skill that is very sought after by many companies when you go to apply for graduate roles in the future. So another skill then is critical thinking. So obviously you are expected to think outside the box. You are sort of a different generation potentially to the company you'll be working for. So it's sort of down to you to create these new exciting ways of thinking, and definitely coming up with the most creative ideas that you can. You are given a completely new insight for the company. So definitely, explore different avenues, and obviously you're developing these skills as you go through. So obviously the big one, which you probably all know, is teamwork, which you're going to be developing, which both of us have covered with our own experiences. Obviously, whether it be good or bad experiences, it is definitely going to be a skill you've developed, and at the end of it, you will definitely come out as a more clued up individual on how to work best in a team, and obviously understand how different people work and how different people learn. It is definitely a huge skill that all employers look for. The typical question in an interview: give us an example of teamwork. As Kia said at the start, this is the perfect example that you could give. So finally, moving on to presentation skills. Obviously, as I just discussed, these will probably be online, but don't underestimate this, because this is probably going to be sort of a new way of working in the future. Many presentations will be carried out online. So having this experience and the skill to be able to do this is definitely going to set you far in the future. So don't forget, presentation skills is a key one. And finally, sharing diverse perspectives. So this is similar to critical thinking. You are creating a new ideas and generation. Your perspective will be something probably completely different to what the company will come up with. So don't forget that, sharing these perspectives and these recommendations from a new way of thinking from you as a team is definitely something that you need to be including in future interviews and CVs. So I'll pass on to Kia to talk about some other tips that we have for you.
Okay, so we briefly just wanted to go through kind of reflection in your final report. Obviously that seems kind of ages away, but be organised. It'll come much faster than you think. Outline kind of any important dates throughout the year so you are aware, so it doesn't just kind of creep up on you. Make a timeline of all your deadlines for finding your project and everything else, just so you know how to kind of plan time for everything. Make sure the whole group contributes. Again, like I mentioned earlier, it can be easy for you to just kind of get lost in kind of your own work and work by yourself, especially if you are struggling with your group, but just make sure everyone is contributing and you are kind of encouraging that as a whole team. That's really important, and something that you can really use as a talking point in the future as well. Think about your structure. That goes for both. You really want it to make sense. You want it to flow nicely, obviously. Many of you have had practice kind of with essays and report writing, this is the last hurdle. So really plan for it, really make sure that it does kind of flow nicely. Especially for your kind of professionalism, be honest, but make sure you are kind of being polite, being professional about it. You know, you can definitely put it in a professional way. You know, that's what the company wants, is honesty, honesty about kind of the ways they're working now and how it could be improved. So definitely include that. But, you know, kind of maintain that professionalism, and that goes through the reflection as well. You know, absolutely fine to talk about kind of hurdles that you and your team have had to kind of overcome. If it's been difficult to kind of work in a group, that's absolutely fine. But just again, don't throw anyone under the bus and be professional again. Always think about kind of why you did what you did throughout your project. That's really important, to know why you did things, and it can be really good talking points in the future as well, looking back on that. And, you know, think about if you would have done anything differently. It's really easy in a moment to kind of think, right, this is what we're doing. But once we take a step back and we look at kind of how things kind of panned out, there's always things that we could have maybe done better. So really kind of, you know, acknowledge that and talk about it. That's absolutely fine. You know, take advantage of these. You can look back and use these as talking points in, you know, interviews, like we've been kind of saying throughout this. You can use them as talking points in your interviews, especially, like I said, if you don't have kind of any other work experience, or if this is kind of the main thing you've used for teamwork, and that kind of thing. So really just kind of think about that and reflect on that as well. And this wouldn't be kind of an employability session if we didn't talk about LinkedIn. So we are just going to briefly talk about that. Like we said, you know, really utilize your final year projects in terms of your employability. So, you know, LinkedIn is really important. If you haven't got a profile already, it's not too late. Get one up now, and really build it throughout your final year. So you know, you can get recommendations from FYP providers. You know, if it's, you know, gone particularly well, you can kind of, you know, ask them to give you a recommendation. Ask them to kind of talk about how well you did on your project. You know, the skills that you kind of you know, develop throughout, and, you know, what they were really impressed with by you. And connect with everyone you meet. You know, you probably will meet a lot of different teams within the companies you work for. Connect with them all. You don't know where that will take you. You don't know how kind of useful they'll be. And definitely kind of utilize that again. And ask for skills endorsements from your provider. You know, it's easy for them to kind of just endorse you in terms of maybe communication, kind of team working, critical thinking, all those skills that Karis mentioned earlier. You know, they can endorse you on your LinkedIn profile. And don't be afraid to ask your team members as well. You know, endorse each other. You've literally worked kind of on this project. Obviously at the end it will be you know, a year, so you really know the ins and outs of how you all work, so really utilize that as well, and add in your media to your descriptions on LinkedIn. If you created maybe you know, a logo for the company, if you created any kind of marketing toolkits or anything like that, you know, show that off on LinkedIn. It'll just show, like, again, all the skills that you've used, and what you are capable of doing. And, you know, LinkedIn kind of really evidences that, and is nicely kind of, you know, a showcase of that alongside your CV. And, you know, obviously add your project on there. So I added mine on there, Karis has added hers on there, and you can put a, you know, brief description on what you've done, what it involved, and, you know, again, an employer can come across that and think, oh, they, you know, have ticked off everything that I'm looking for in a person. So, you know, definitely, you know, look at a LinkedIn profile if you haven't already got one. So we really want to just kind of tell you how to access us. Many of you have already kind of maybe used our service, but it's never too late if you haven't. You know, now's the time to start thinking about grad roles, or what you want to do after university, even if it's not going straight into employment. You know, you can still come and speak to us and we can help you kind of navigate everything even if you don't know kind of where to start, you can book a one-to-one appointment with a consultant. It can be over Zoom, Teams, phone call, whatever you feel is best. And we are still here, even though everything is virtual. We just want to kind of make sure you are aware of that, and that we are still providing our support, as normal as possible. You can email us whenever you need some placements or some careers. The details are there. And we'll help you, again, like I said, even if you don't know where to start, and you don't know kind of how to make a little action plan for yourself, we can help you. Just let us know and we can help guide you through whatever situation you're in. And I'll pass on to Cara to go through kind of other ways to connect with us as well.
And so to finish off, I just wanted to touch on ways to connect with us. So you can see on the screen we've got our social media channels. So we are on Facebook. If you search Some Careers, you'll get us through there. And we're also on Instagram at Some Employability. So definitely give us a follow on those. We post many job applications, graduate roles, and it's a good way to stay in touch even when you proceed on to be alumni. And definitely connect with us all on LinkedIn. Obviously, we've talked about LinkedIn today. We are all on there, so a good way to connect your network. We would be delighted to connect with you on LinkedIn. So our Hub Canvas page can be found on Canvas at Some Employability. On there, you will find our new booking system link. So the appointments that Kia has mentioned can be booked via our new booking system. You can also get this link via our Instagram page and on our signatures on our emails as well. So just to wrap up, I'd obviously like to thank you all for listening today. We really hope it's been beneficial for you all, listening to our experiences and our tips. It's been great for us to see it from a student perspective, working on the projects, and now from an employability perspective. We only now really value how what we did on our final year project year implements into employability and your future careers. So please do take our advice, and if you require any more information or you want to know anything more about our projects, we would both be more than happy to speak to you further. So if you do have any questions, either email Some Placements or Some Careers. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for listening.